Kevin, I just want to check the volume one more time.
Sure thing. Britny Fox, yeah.
Okay, I think we're probably good. Hang on. Wow, stupid glare, right?
I know. Just angle over there. Oh, Michael, just bring the chair. I'll get you a little chair and sit facing this way.
Yeah, this is fine.
Okay.
Okay, I think we're okay. Hey,
Good.
that's a cool setup you have there. Looking at your stuff.
Thanks, man. Tom
Okay.
and Silver Star got the bells and the whistles.
Awesome. And I can't tell, but the top of that poster looks like it says Phantasm.
This guy right here?
The poster.
Yeah, the poster. Which one?
Way back there.
I got Pearl Jam, Tool,
Oh.
and then Godsmack.
Oh, I was seeing that as a Phantasm, one of my favorite horror movies.
Oh, Phantasm. Okay, I've never seen that one before.
Oh, hang on. Check it out. It's pretty awesome. If you're a horror guy, yeah, Phantasm is really cool.
Will do. I will check that out. But hey, this is an honor to have you join me on I Ask No One. And I like to cheers at the top of every episode, and I'm cracking open this guy right now. So Happy New Year to you and Trish.
Coffee time, 3:00.
First drink of the day. New Year's Eve.
Same here.
Yeah.
Caffeine.
Well, at the top of every episode, I like to start off with the fact of the day. But before I do that, I just want to give a proper introduction. Okay. Right here with us is Michael Kelly Smith, co-founder of Cinderella and lead guitarist of Britny Fox. 80s Sunset Strip, rock and roll, playing it to the masses, giving it to the world. It's an honor again. But wow. Today is December the 31st. This is going to be airing in a few days. But I was curious, whose birthday is it on December the 31st in this rock and roll world? And maybe some of these names ring a bell, but Andy Summers of the Police, R.I.P. John Denver, God bless. Pete Quaife of the Kinks.
Okay.
Burton Cummings of Guess Who, Donna Summer, Tim Hamilton of Aerosmith, and Scotty Ian of Anthrax.
Wow, didn't know that.
A lot of birthdays.
Wow, awesome.
But I gotta ask you, just off the top, who inspired you to pick up the guitar? I know you're instructing guitar there out of Pennsylvania via Zoom or however you do that. And who first inspired you way back when in Pennsylvania, I presume, to pick up the guitar?
Originally, my older brother Joe had an acoustic guitar that he used to play around on, and one day I picked it up and thought, hey, how hard could it be? So I just started messing around with that, and thought, yeah, this is something I want to try. So I started taking lessons. Then I had a friend who was a couple years older than me in high school who started guitar and got really good really fast and got into a band, and I used to go to band rehearsal with him, and I just got hooked right then because I'm like, wow, this is pretty cool to be able to play cover songs in a band. So he was my brother Joe originally, then my friend George, who's also the first long-haired guy in the school. He was like the first guy to go down that road of being a rock musician. So I followed in his footsteps. And then by the time, I had a couple cover bands still in high school. And then after high school, I went and started, club bands, and played covers, which was, of course, stuff by all my major influences: Zeppelin, Aerosmith, Kiss, Scorpions, UFO, all that stuff. So it was pretty cool. So I just kind of went from there and eventually ended up meeting Tom Keifer, and him and I were in a couple, kind of cover bands in the beginning. Priscilla Harriet Band, where Tom and I were the guitar players. This girl, Priscilla, was the lead singer. and we played Scorpions, Plasmatics, um, again UFO, Black Sabbath, all kinds of Ozzy, like really great stuff for the time, and that's how Tom and I hooked. And then eventually, I just said to him, we should start an original band, and that's how that started.
That's very, very cool. Now, how did you meet Tom? Was it just battle of the bands kind of thing backstage, or how did that come about? Just
Actually, I was in a cover band called Telepath, and we were auditioning guitar players. The guitar player we had left. We had auditions. We had about 10 people come in, and Tom was one of them. And no one else in the band wanted him. And I said, no, he's our guy. He's the right guy. So that was kind of a back and forth for a while. And eventually I convinced them that Tom was the guy. I'm sure looking back on it now, they're probably wondering what they were thinking.
right.
But I saw the talent immediately.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we got Tom in the band, and him and I became best friends. And then ultimately started Cinderella. And the rest of that's kind of history.
Very, very cool. Yeah, Tom Keifer with Cinderella, another big band out of the 80s, and Tom Keifer, he's now gone solo. What were some of the, you mentioned UFO and Scorpions and so on. I'm just curious, what were some of those records that really were the most impressionable on you when you were learning the guitar that maybe you carry even into today, that it's still in your musical DNA?
For sure. Early Black Sabbath.
Yeah.
UFO Phenomenon to this day to me is like the ultimate guitar album. I mean, all their albums, especially with Michael Schenker, but UFO Phenomenon, Led Zeppelin 4. I remember early on the first couple Aerosmith albums, especially Get Your Wings for the guitar work.
Yeah.
And that's the stuff I was really aspiring to play like back then. And to this day, I'm still trying to learn half of that stuff.
Right, right. I'm a big Metallica fan, and seen them around the world 38 times, most of which with my twin brother. My twin brother's in Athens, Greece. He's been living there for 2 years. But Metallica, those guys, they really rave about UFOs, Strangers in the Night live album.
Phenomenal.
Is it?
Yeah, no pun intended. Yeah, phenomenal. In fact, they just recently released a 8 CD box set of all the dates that were recorded for that on the 1978 tour. That became the Strangers in the Night double live album. But they just released a box set with all the shows in it. So I'm waiting for that. Should be in the mail any day.
Oh, nice, nice.
But that is everybody's go-to live album for especially guitarists. I know Kirk Hammett is a huge Michael Schenker fan.
Yes. Yeah,
as most guitarists are.
Yep.
But he's just phenomenal.
Yep. Have you ever met some of your heroes? Your heroes from back when with those rock records?
Yes, actually many. I met Michael Schenker a couple times.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, that was super awesome. Ann and Nancy from Heart, Ronnie Montrose, Ted Nugent, Rick Nielsen, Cheap Trick. Ian Hunter, Mick Ronson. Mick Ronson was another major influence. And I met him. We were doing our second album, Boys in Heat, at the record plant in New York. And there was a lounge area. And we had a break. I went down to grab a beverage out of the vending machine and turned around, and Ian Hunter and Mick Ronson were sitting there. And I was like, wow, are you serious? Like, I had no idea they were actually upstairs on the second floor recording studio recording an album. So that was just mind-blowing, really.
What'd you say? You stood there with your jaw open, or?
For a second, yeah. Then I just walked over and introduced myself, told them I was there recording an album with my band, and they were super nice. They invited me up to watch them record when I had breaks from our recording. So I actually got to watch Mick Ronson record guitar solos at the record plant, like just sitting there, and he's like, yeah, come on in. It was super, really, really awesome.
That's badass. That's so cool. Well, you know who's going to be watching this are my two friends that live in the SoCal. They're from there. One's from Fresno, one's from Long Beach and San Pedro. Is Mike Lane of death metal band Detriment and Jordan. Those two are inseparable when it comes to concerts in SoCal. They're very, very big fans of yours. They say hi.
Oh,
And
cool.
Luke, I just want to share with my viewers how I got put in touch with you real quick was I moved to California in 2013. Long story short, Geico Insurance brought me out there, and I was pursuing my dream of making it in film and TV and so on. And one of my dreams was to start a band. And I'm being a drummer. I got in contact with an instructor like yourself who was at a concert I just struck conversation with. And his name is Mike Rugerello. And he put me in contact with Luke, who happened to be from Philly, and Matt Leader, who's from Syracuse. So here's three Northeastern boys from the East Coast. And we had a guitarist. We had two guitarists, Luke and Matt, myself, drummer. We picked up a vocalist and bassist. And he's just you know, Luke, I mean, you've been working with him for a year and a half, 2 years, instructing him guitar, and just a really good guy. And I thought, hey, hell with it, I'm going to ask. And here we are. So, man, thanks again.
Oh, sure. Thank you. And I don't know if you've heard Luke play in a while, but he's getting really good.
Is he?
Oh, heck yeah, man. He's learning Van Halen. Oh, yeah, he's really coming along.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for that. And I want to get his ass over here and we'll get jamming some of these UFO songs or whatever. Montrose, Deep Purple.
Oh, yeah, he's a big Montrose fan, too. So we're working on a lot of Van Halen at the moment, Montrose, Aerosmith, turning him on to some of that he wasn't familiar with. Of course, Foghat, I forgot to mention, Nazareth. I mean, you know, all the 70s classic rock stuff.
Yeah, awesome. Awesome. We're going real quick back to who you met. Have you met any of the Metallica guys?
No, almost. We recorded our third album, Bite Down Hard, in the same studio as the Metallica Black album.
Ah, okay.
And
one-on-one studios.
One-on-one, yep, exactly. Yeah. Right. So and also that's how we got Zakk Wylde to play on the opening track, Six Guns Loaded, because they had done the Metallica album there. And actually they finished the Metallica album. Then the next album they did was No More Tears, Ozzy.
Yeah.
And it turned out our producers for Bite Down Hard produced the No More Tears album, which ran a couple weeks over schedule. So we had to wait to start recording, obviously, until Ozzy was finished with that record, which we didn't mind at all. They invited us to hang around and watch them, you know, be there while they were mixing. And we had known Zakk from before. And then after that whole process was finished, Zakk didn't leave. He just kept hanging around, and he heard us recording Six Guns Loaded. He really liked it. So I invited him to play a solo on it. So the end solo on Six Guns Loaded is Zakk Wylde, and it's awesome. And it was cool to try to reproduce what he did live. You know, I would have to, you know, like basically learn his solo for when we did it live. But yeah, that's how that came to be.
And when you would do it live, did you get down his mannerisms too, with the head shaking or whatever, or the banter?
Yeah, maybe a little bit. Yeah, I was mostly focused on trying to play like him, which, you know, I cannot, but I did my best. It came off pretty well. Yeah.
How was he back then? Just beer drinking Hellraiser or chill?
Not as much then. Yeah, okay. He was just starting to morph into that kind of more that image, you know, with the you know, more the biker look, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
You know, he went from like the glam kind of guy when he first joined Ozzy, and then morphed into his image now. But yeah, he's a great guy, super low key, and yeah, no, he wasn't the you know, the massive Hellraiser guy right then. You know what I mean?
Gotcha. Well, going back to Cinderella, I do own Night Song as their first studio record, and I think I saw your face on an EP with Shake Me, or maybe Nobody's Fool. Did you
Yes.
down that track for that record, or was it an EP before then?
When actually it was a 7-inch 45 with Shake Me and Nobody's Fool that we recorded with the original lineup of Cinderella. So no, it was different versions than what ended up on the album, because by the time the album came around, Tony and I were fired thanks to Polygram Records
Oh,
to sign the band. It wasn't the band's idea to get a new guitar player and a drummer, but it was actually the A&R guy, Derek Schulman, his name was, thought for some reason, well, you guys should have a different drummer, different guitar player.
hmm.
So, which was, obviously Tony, the original drummer, it was his and I lost, it was our loss. Obviously, being fired from a band we just devoted 4 years of our life to, and got everything rolling with it. But looking back, I would have to say it was their loss as well, because I don't think the band was ever the same with Jeff and Fred. Not that they weren't good, it just wasn't the same. I thought the band was better and probably would have continued to be better than they were, after the changes.
Right. And God bless Tony, R.I.P. Tony.
Yeah.
You guys went off and you formed, though, a pretty badass band called Britny Fox. That's N-Y, not N-E-Y, Britny Fox. And if you be so kind, tell us about that and how, you got those other guys together and Dizzy Dean, and all of a sudden you're on MTV. That must have been a whirlwind there in the late 80s, right?
Well, it was, but it wasn't overnight. It took a while, because it turns out Dean was a drummer originally in a couple of local bands. One in particular, World War III, they were called. They had an independent album out that was super heavy and super, like, really great. And then Johnny D, who ended up being the Britny Fox drummer, actually replaced Dean on drums in World War III. So it was a very tight circle of how everybody knew each other. And then Dean decided to be a singer guitar player, and Dean used to come watch Britny Fox at the Galaxy Club like all the time. And after he found out Tony and I were no longer in Cinderella, he approached me and said, "Hey, I have some songs, and I knew him as a drummer, but he said I now play guitar and sing." And I was like, okay. We got together, and sure enough, he had the riffs for Girls' School, Long Way to Love, and I was like, okay, let's try this. So I went to Tony. He was all game for it, because at the time Tony and I were like, hey, unemployed, didn't know what to do. We knew we were going to continue, but we weren't sure how. So we got together with Dean. That clicked beautifully. There was great chemistry there, and we knew Billy Childs. He had been, on the same scene, and we got him in there, and it was instant chemistry. So it took us a little while to get, a whole set of songs together. We showcased at the Galaxy, where, the same club Cinderella came up through. And we
Philadelphia.
well, actually, no, New Jersey. It was in Summerdale, New Jersey.
Okay.
Right across the bridge, so to speak, from Philadelphia.
Gotcha.
Philadelphia area, but Summerdale, New Jersey. And we packed the place like almost immediately. And we had a manager who shopped our demos around. And we had interest immediately, because Cinderella had been doing really well at that point. Their first album had probably, was on its way to a couple million in album sales.
Yeah.
So being that we had two original members from Cinderella, that was a foot in the door, and we got a lot of attention. We had, showcases, and we actually had an offer from an upstart label that was a subsidiary, I believe, of maybe Atlantic Records. I can't remember, but that was the showcase the night that Tony was killed in a car accident.
Wow.
It was called Nemperor Records. It was a new label, Nemperor. But then we lost Tony in the car accident, and that was another huge setback. But we knew Adam Ferrioli, who's a friend and also a great drummer. So he sat in with us to continue playing live, and we did more demos, and finally landed a showcase with Columbia Records, oddly enough, opening for Cinderella in Wildwood, New Jersey. So representatives from Columbia came down, loved the band, offered us a deal. And at that point, that's when we decided to call Johnny B, who had played with Bill in lots of bands prior to that. And he was at the time in a band called Wasted, with Pete Way from UFO. And they were doing okay. They were doing pretty well, but he was interested. But as I recall, he was like, yeah, well, I'll be really interested if you guys have an actual offer on the table. And then eventually we did have the Columbia offer. And that's when he came over and played, and we took him as our permanent drummer. And the chemistry, again, was phenomenal. I mean, that's one of the things that came along that was really luck for us, in that it wasn't a struggle. I mean, we just instantly played together like we've been playing together forever. And John and Bill are probably the best rhythm section you could ever hope for, without a doubt. Dean was really, you know, a great songwriter, great front man, really good singer. I mean, some people didn't like his raspy voice, but if it fit the songs, and the people that liked that style really liked him. I mean, he was really good at what he did, and it all just worked.
That's awesome. And your debut record came out in 1988, right? With
Right.
Britny Fox.
Yep.
That's the year I was born, in March. And
wow, pretty weird.
Yeah.
Thinking back, like, you were born in '88. We were going on our first tour, our first major tour.
Isn't that nuts? I mean, leading up to our conversation right here, right now, I've been blasting, in particular, that first record, and Girls' School. Still, when you come in the music video, I laugh out loud seeing you just ripping, and great riffs, fun time, fun music. Going back to Jordan and Mike Lane in California. By the way, their party anthem song is the first track off the second record, which I'm forgetting the name.
In Motion.
Yes.
In Motion.
Yes, that's their song. But that music, the Van Halen and the Kiss and the Bon Jovi and the Britny Fox and Cinderella and Motley and that whole entire scene, I was completely alien to it. I was, I love my Metallica and the Sabbath and just the hard and heavy kind of stuff. So when I moved out to California, here we are on a Friday night going to the Whiskey to go see Winger. And, I don't know much Winger, but I just had a really awesome time, and just the catchy hooks, and those guys still having a really good time playing that. And it was funny. We saw a death metal band at the Roxy called Carcass. And they're like,
okay.
oh, this is probably where Poison played back then. And they had their thing that they were saying. And just a complete trip. So here you are. It's 88. You got the debut record. Were you already living in LA, or did you move out there? Or
no, we never. Yeah, we didn't. Yeah, we're all Philadelphia based. The only time we spent in LA was to do the third album.
Ah, okay.
And that was with Tommy Paris, the singer who replaced Dean after Dean quit. So yeah, we were not at all. I know we got lumped in with all the LA glam bands of the day.
Sure.
But we didn't really spend any time out there, or not until we did the third album.
Okay.
And that never lived there. Just out there for a few months to do Bite Down Hard, and that was it.
Gotcha. Yeah, right after the Metallica record, my all-time favorite record right there. But you were touring all of a sudden with Poison and Warrant and those kinds of bands. How the heck was that to be in Britny Fox and your fledgling, your band, and to tour arenas in the country. And was it throughout the world you were going, or was it just North America?
The first tour was the Open Up and Say Ah Poison tour that we were
Yeah.
offered. Turns out Bobby Dahl saw our Long Way to Love video on MTV and expressed interest and said that's the band that he thought they should have for their opening band. And that was their first headlining tour also. So yeah, obviously we accepted. We went out for, I think it was 3 or 4 months with them. And it was awesome to be able to go onto bigger stages in front of larger audiences and get that, get that exposure that we needed, obviously. So between that and MTV, we were selling a lot of records, and it was all going full speed ahead at that point.
That's so awesome. And you were playing with Rat as well. I had to wear this. They played.
Yeah, I saw it. Yep.
Yeah.
That was actually later on. I can't remember the exact months or time period that occurred. I know we did 2 separate short runs with Joan Jett opening for her in between Poison and Rat. And then, we were doing some one-off shows on our own, like, on the off nights, we would do like theaters and clubs. So everything was rolling along great. And then we also, after the release of Poison Heat in 1989, we were offered the Alice Cooper Trash Tour in Europe. And we had not been to Europe at all on the first album.
Wow.
The only time we got out of the country was to open for Bon Jovi on New Year's Eve in Japan, 1988 into 89 New Year's. So that's the only, outside of the country, gig that we did. So when we had the offer for Alice Cooper, we jumped at that. And we were also riding high because we were also signed on to the Kiss Hot in the Shade tour back in the U.S. when we were getting back from Europe. So
hide your heart, Michael Kelly Smith. Hide your heart.
Oh, I know, right? Yeah, it was. So at that point, we were like, "Wow, this is all moving along, really nicely." And what had happened was the Kiss album was not selling as well as they were hoped out of the gate. So they decided to not cancel the tour, but they postponed it and pushed it back 2 months or so, I believe. And in the interim, the band Slaughter came out and had huge success on MTV. They were in heavy rotation, and their first album was outselling our second album. So Kiss decided to, bump us off of the tour in favor of Slaughter, which was a big disappointment because at that point, that's exactly what we needed, was to come back to the US on the second album and have that kind of exposure that we would have had on the Kiss tour, but that fell through. So it wasn't completely horrible because, we were at the point where we could book a lot of theater and club shows, and which we did. Our booking agent was, really on top of things, had us booked for about 6 months out, with some really well-paying gigs. And that's when we got the word that Dean was quitting the band, and that everything just came to a halt. We did 1 or 2 shows starting on that tour, and that's when he had already had Black Eyed Susan put together, quit the band, and that was the end of it. Everything came to a halt.
Okay. May I ask why Dizzy Dean had left the band? You guys were having so many good times and he was writing some awesome songs.
Yeah, I'd have to say, looking back, the short explanation might be that he just pretty much wanted more of the spotlight. It wasn't enough for him, I don't think, to just be the front man of Britny Fox. I think he wanted to be more of the center of attention. At least it seemed at the time. There was no logical reason to leave a band that was doing as well as we were.
Right.
Like we were doing pretty well. I mean, yeah, it's true we were catching the tail end of the glam hair metal thing. You know, it was starting to, you know, maybe wane a little bit,
Yeah.
but it was still crazy to quit a band that was, you know, doing as well as we were. And he was always also heavily influenced by what was going on at the moment. For example, Black Crowes were big at that time.
Mhm.
So he decided that we should be more like Black Crowes. And we're like, no, like we're not the Black Crowes. You know, some similarity, but it's still pretty, you know, as far as like two rock bands, but they were a completely different style.
Sure.
And it didn't, you know, he just decided he was going to start Black Eyed Susan, who sounded a lot more like Black Crowes, which is all well and good. Might have been a nice idea for a side project or something, but he quit the band, did Black Eyed Susan, which was actually a really good band and a really good album they released. But it went nowhere. And you know, and you know, we were like done at that point. We had no singer, and without a lead singer, like you know, the band is not happening. So that's kind of what happened. It's a shame, really, that he made that decision because it, you know, seemed like a good move for him at the time. Ultimately, obviously it was not, I don't believe. And it really put us in a bind because there we were, you know, with two pretty successful albums and left without a singer. So we started auditioning, and it took us a while to eventually find Tommy. By that point, you know, we found him. We moved to Sea Isle, New Jersey for the winter, 1990, and recorded and did demos and had to start. And also in the interim, we got dropped by Columbia because they got tired of waiting. Had we found a singer immediately, they might have kept us under contract, but it just took too long. We got dropped from Columbia, so now we had no singer and no record deal. So we found Tommy, rehearsed, wrote songs, did demos, and had to start shopping for a new label from scratch. By the time we did all that, we ended up signing with East West Records, a subsidiary of Atlantic, and went out to LA, recorded Bite Down Hard, which from a fan perspective, fans loved it. Everybody took to the idea of a new singer because Tommy was really able to, you know, cover the Dean stuff as well. So he had a similar voice, but different in certain aspects. But, you know, we could pull off all the old material and the new stuff, obviously. And he was a really, you know, perfect fit for the band. But unfortunately, by the time that album was released, grunge had come onto the scene. The hair metal thing was way on its way out. And it was just horrible timing. And it was just like, it went nowhere. It was like pretty much dead on arrival, so to speak. We toured, we did okay, not great, but we couldn't, at that point, we just like, you know, decided to give it a break.
Have you been in touch with your old bandmate Dizzy Dean at all since then? I mean, the chemistry that you guys had for those first two records and the touring, I'm sure that hasn't been forgotten at all, but I'm just curious.
Yeah, off and on over the years. At one point, he reached out to us, and I think he wanted to get back together and reunite the original lineup. But it never happened. We were just like, nah, I think, you know, John and Bill may have been more positive about that idea. You know, I was not so much. Not that I was holding a grudge. It's just that I didn't want to, you know, have history repeat itself. And we all kind of moved on from those original days. So it never happened. I think again, you know, he said he had songs and had some interest in the event the band was going to reunite, but it never happened. So a bunch of years went by where we really didn't do anything as a band. John was drumming for Doro, and doing a lot of recording and live shows and touring with her. And then in the late, I'm trying to remember the year, around 2000 is when we got approached by Spitfire Records to record a live album. So we were like, sure, we'll give this a try. We got back together, did some live shows, recorded the live album, and turns out they also wanted us to do a new studio album, which we did. I think the live album was 2001, and then the new studio album with Tommy on Spitfire was 2003, called Springhead Motor Shark, which was phenomenal in my opinion. Like, we just went in an entirely different direction. Well, not exactly a different direction. We just expanded, what we had been doing in the past. We took it to different levels and experimented in different, sound and different, styles of approaching what we had done in the past. So we put that out. We never toured on that album. At that point, there was really nothing going. There were a couple different incarnations of the band. Tommy, John, and Bill went out with a different guitar player for a while. And then Tommy left, and then Bill brought in a different singer, and it just got to be a mess. Whereas there was, all these different versions of Britny Fox out there playing clubs that weren't really the band at all, more of a tribute band. So, that was some bad blood for a little while, but, it's all water under the bridge now.
Sure. Hey, man. Yeah, what a story. I think that's so cool. Going back to the Open Up and Say Ah tour, with Poison's big record and touring with Rat and those guys. Do you have any funny stories, backstage? Do you have any before you go up on stage with anything, any rituals that you do, or anything that stands out from that time of just, I'm sure it's a blur, but yeah, I'd love to know.
Yeah. Well, of all the touring we did, I'd have to say opening for Alice Cooper in Europe was probably the most professional setting. There wasn't the childish antics that, would occur on the Poison and the Rat tour.
Yeah.
A lot of the typical nonsensical, stuff that you would expect to hear about, which wasn't my thing. Like, really, it's what happens when you get people that, want to, party, and, it's what they, it was typical for the time and normal, but at the same time, it's a little disheartening actually to see people that had that much success and were in that position and actually, making a living doing what they love to do, and being fortunate enough to have everything fall into place, and then just kind of like, pretty much throw it away ultimately.
Yeah.
Because that stuff, when you're doing that well, obviously that wasn't going to last forever. And yeah, the Alice Cooper tour was different in that it was so professional, because Alice Cooper obviously, has been around forever.
And the Poison song. I mean, I remember being in the Sunset Marquee a few years ago. Me, my twin brother Ryan, and my younger brother Leonard. We had a villa in that hotel, and we were just blasting your music and your shredding, and that included Alice Cooper Poison from that. It's good time music, man, and that's really cool. That must have been a really awesome time to go overseas with such a legend like Alice Cooper.
Yeah, it was unbelievable, really, looking back. And ironically, the very first arena concert I attended as a kid was Alice Cooper.
Really? Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was on 1973 Hershey Park Arena in Pennsylvania, and it was my first official arena show. So then fast forward, I don't know, whatever the time period was, 20 some years. And then, you know, I was in a band opening for Alice Cooper. So that was pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's dreamlike, I can imagine. And did you ever
Oh, for
tell
sure.
did you ever tell Alice Cooper about that? Like, hey,
Oh, absolutely.
yeah,
Oh, yeah. Yeah. He got a kick out of it because he was like, yeah, same thing. How it doesn't happen every day to
right.
where, you know, you end up opening, you know, have a band that opens for one of your, you know, for a legend that you grew up listening to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Super awesome. I mean, so that was different than opening for Poison or, you know, Rat. They were contemporaries. You know, we were all up and coming at the same time. Opening for Alice Cooper was an entirely different experience, as Kiss would have been. You know, that would have been an entirely different scenario as well, because again, you're playing in front of you know, the band you grew up, you know, wanting to be like.
That's so badass.
Yeah.
Are you still in touch with any of these guys from you know, Warrant or Rat or, you know, Piercy or any of those
No, actually, no,
guys?
no. After those tours ended, um, yeah, have not really stayed in touch with anyone.
Okay.
Everyone kind of went their own ways. We crossed paths a few times here and there, but yeah, there was not any long-standing friendships that developed out of that. It
Gotcha.
was just kind of like, hey, you know,
Yeah.
nice to meet you. Thanks for having us open. You know.
Right. Right. Well, that's awesome. And I have to ask, what does Eddie Van Halen mean to you? R.I.P. The greatest. Would you say he's the greatest guitarist of all time?
Well, yes and no.
Okay.
I mean, yes, in that he was phenomenal and took, you know, rock lead guitar playing to a whole new level with his technique. But I always view it as, if you break down different players' styles of playing, I would certainly put him up there among the best. And in my opinion, it would be him, Michael Schenker, Mick Ronson, Leslie West,
Mm.
um, Ace Frehley. And again, these guys were, you know, completely Richie Blackmore, obviously.
Oh yeah. You like the Rainbow Rising record? I love that Rainbow Rising record.
Phenomenal. Oh yeah, all that stuff. Rod Price from Foghat,
Oh,
Manny Charlton from Nazareth. I mean, all these guys were so unique at what they did. But I would have to say equally, you know, Hendrix, obviously going back further, you know, they were so different, but all on the same level as far as greatness. So I would never like it, you know, yeah, like Van Halen was clearly a more technical player than most everyone else, but also had feel and unbelievable tone and all that stuff. So it was a matter of that's why it's so hard to ever say so and so's the best,
right.
because there's so many nuances and differences. You know, I could tell you, like I just named the, you know, people I would put in the top 10. But yeah, but getting back, Van Halen was insane, incredible.
I watch videos of you live performances. I see your style. Makes me smile. Your solos, man. I'm driving just down the street here, coming from the gym, and Long Way to Love comes on, and just you're riding up the neck like Eddie Van Halen, and you're going like high down here, and
Right?
it's the coolest thing ever. And I wanted to show you something. I am no guitarist, and uh, bucket list, whatever. But someday you're gonna get a call from me, and you are gonna be my very first guitar lesson.
Okay.
And my late great buddy Mike Holden, whose dad actually at age 60, oh geez, 62 or 63, he's retiring today. So
Wow.
congratulations to John Holden. But
Wow.
this was one of Mike's guitars, and it used to, I think it still says "fuck Nickelback" on it. But I don't
All
know
right.
anything about guitars, Michael. But this is probably what you'd see me. I'm gonna restring it, and
Sure. That's a great guitar to start on. Fender Squire Strat. Can't go wrong.
okay,
That'll work perfect.
nice, cool.
Yeah,
This,
yeah. Awesome.
this is that's gonna be the guitar you'll see. And me and my twin brother, we went out to London, Ontario for a Static X show. Static X
Wow.
is,
Yeah.
the industrial metal and so on. But
I
this
know
is,
that.
Dean, and I haven't used this, but it's signed by the band and to Kevin and Ryan. And this is,
Wow. Super awesome.
yeah, isn't it?
Yeah, really, really nice.
What's your take on the Flying V look? What do you have a structure that you like on your guitars? Do you play these at all?
I own a white Gibson Flying V. I had to have one because that's what Michael Schenker played.
Ah, hey, you really like Michael Schenker. That's awesome.
Oh, he's my guy. Yeah, yeah. So I started out with a Les Paul, and but after seeing Michael play with his Flying V, I had to have one. So saved up, bought one, and yeah, it's great. It's not the guitar I would use all the time, but back in the club days, I would play it a lot, especially when we were covering UFO because I got the perfect tone. And
Yeah.
it just seemed like the right thing to do to play a Flying V if you're playing UFO. And so yeah, now I still have my white Gibson Flying V. That was exactly like Michael's from the 70s.
I called Luke up a few days ago and just wanted to remind him again what's happening today. And also Cozy Powell, he's one of my favorite drummers on
Awesome.
Rainbow and Sabbath. And I never knew he was played with Michael Schenker. He played on the MSG record,
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, for a while. Yeah.
we got talking about that. And I also asked him if Michael Kelly Smith is going to behave on the video. I didn't want to, I was just making sure you weren't crazy or anything.
Right, right.
Right. But I want to show you this. I saved this best for last, and I'm protecting this for my young brother Leonard until he comes back home to Buffalo, if he does. But this is, I don't know what this is, but there's a certificate of authenticity. This is Page and Plant signed this.
Are you kidding?
No.
How'd that come to be? You met them?
I never met them, but my uncle, he picked it up in some auction and he put it off for we were doing a fundraiser, a family fundraiser for Roswell Park Cancer Institute that we really contribute to over the years. But this was an item that I keep right behind the drums, and just hearing your
Wow.
reaction, that's do I take it for granted? No. But when I showed it to Luke, he freaked the fuck out.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, it was pretty.
Well, I got to take care of that, man. That needs to be in a glass case or something.
Yes, it does. I have its own stand right behind there. So I took it off ever so gently, and it's like the quiet corner. You know, I don't. When the guitar's over there, man, this is sacred. So
Yeah, keep that away from the cymbal stands.
yeah. In fact, yeah, I'll definitely move. It's deep there in the corner, but I'm gonna move it over there because of Michael Kelly Smith.
Okay, yeah, because the last thing you need is a cymbal falling onto that thing.
No way. I wanted to
awesome.
quote. I'm sorry.
That's awesome.
Thanks, man.
Oh yeah, completely. Like yeah, wow.
Thank you. Yeah, those are the guitars that I have, and I got a Chucky doll too. He says hello as well.
That's okay. I have a Pee-wee.
What's that?
I said that's okay. I have a Pee-wee doll.
Oh, do you? A Pee Wee doll? Okay, that's
Actually,
before my time, I think, right?
okay. Actually, two: a ventriloquist style and a pull string talking Pee-wee.
What is Pee Wee? Like Pee Wee Herman or?
Yeah, Pee-wee Herman. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh, if you like Chucky, I have a movie for you to watch
Oh yeah, what movie's that?
called Trilogy of Terror.
Trilogy of Terror.
Mm-hmm. Made for TV.
I got some shit to watch. I mean, I'm gonna rewatch this, and in the description below, again to my viewers, I have Michael Kelly Smith here, co-founder of Cinderella and Britny Fox, lead guitarist, lead shredder, and a disciple of the Michael Schenker prodigy that he was and is. But I have some things to watch when I go to rewatch it, and I'm going to include in the description below some links to that.
Okay.
But every episode, I like to include a quote, and this quote I felt I had to quote Eddie Van Halen with you. If I can help a kid discover a liking or even a passion for music in their life, then that's a wonderful thing. And I think what you're doing with Luke and increasing his talents and changing lives in the way that you've been doing over the years with guitars and you know, teaching people. And I know it's crazy you can't be in person in this climate, but
Right.
you're in Zoom. And is there a way if someone wanted to, you know, get a lesson from the one and the only Michael Kelly Smith, is there, you know, do you have a website or maybe an email address I could share in a description or something?
Yeah, I actually have a Facebook page.
Yep. Which you just started, right?
It just started. Yep. So anybody interested could message through Facebook.
Awesome.
Yep. And then any interested students, players out there, and that would be awesome.
Sweet. I know when we were talking, you were just beginning that Facebook, and if you have any questions about social media or anything like that, my man, you got my number. You can text me whenever.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's crazy. It's all, new technology. It's trying to keep up with all this stuff,
Yeah. It's even see, there's Siri. You know Siri? Like, see, yeah, that's even too much for me. That's like, no, you know.
Yeah, no, it's a little bit, just a little bit weird, isn't it? Like,
it's a trip. Even I'm in the kitchen, my girlfriend's like, "Hey Alexa, play Christmas music," or whatever.
Yeah.
It's still it's a mind fuck for me too. So
it's definitely bizarre. I mean, I appreciate technology, but at the same time, it can be frustrating.
Yeah.
To try to learn it. Like I said, Facebook is new to me, and but it's all working out. And again, like doing lessons now, virtual lessons. It took a little bit of adapting, but it's been really working out well. And getting back to what you were saying, the Van Halen quote, I feel the same way. It's so awesome to be able to have younger players get interested in going back to where a lot of this stuff really originated, which for me was the 70s, and turning students on to all those bands and guitar players and music of that time, because otherwise they probably would never know about it. So it's twofold. It's nice to be able to teach someone to play guitar, but it's also nice to turn them on to great music that they may not have otherwise been exposed to.
Yeah.
So it works perfectly together, because once they start listening to that, then I can teach that to them. And then it gives them a fuller appreciation, because now they discovered all this new music and great music, especially great guitar music from the 70s. And then they're learning how to play it. So it's really, it's very fulfilling to be able to do that, and to see the reaction that, younger players have. I've seen it, for years, just over and over again. It's the same thing. They're like, well, I heard of Deep Purple, or, somewhat familiar with Led Zeppelin or Aerosmith. But when I dig deeper and get them into like Golden Earring and, Nazareth or Foghat, stuff that or Montrose, stuff that they maybe never have heard of, it's really a great thing. So yeah, I get a lot of pleasure out of doing it. It's really, really nice.
You're teaching the next generation, and you've been doing that for a while, and you're waving the flag of rock and roll. And
exactly, yeah.
That's great. You're a great guitarist. You got greater hair. And
thank you.
Yeah, man, thanks so much. And I wish you and Trish a happy new year and all the very best. We'll stay in touch. All right.
Wow, same to you. Happy New Year. Thanks so much. I greatly appreciate it.
Thank you. And
awesome.
As I always close out these episodes, stay happy, stay healthy, stay hungry, and stay heavy. We'll see see you very soon, man. Yeah.
Awesome. Wow. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you. Happy New Year.
Thank you. Thanks, same to you. We'll be in touch.
All right, my man. Peace.
Thank you.